Hello, this is FTC Team 4234, the weapons of mass construction. Today we're going to be talking about how to do constraints in PTC Creo Parametric. Primarily, we're going to be focusing on pin constraints, although we'll also discuss coincident constraints and distance constraints. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go in and make a new assembly. So you go into new, and this is all the different new functions you can do. You can do sketch, you can do a part, just design your own thing. Assembly, take multiple things and assemble them. Manufacturing, drawing, all these different ones. We're going to work with assembly here, so check that one. Then name it what you want. Make sure it's a descriptive name that will help you later on. So I'm just going to call this wheel. Assembly. And an important thing to remember when you're naming them, you have to have, if you want to have more than one word, you have to have this underscore right here, because it won't accept just a space value. And if you actually try to do it without it, it'll give you an error message. So it'll say illegal characters. So you have to put that in. Hit OK. Okay, so now it's taking us to our assembly screen. This is a good screen to get familiar with. But we're going to be selecting our parts. It's good to get familiar to where you saved your Tetrix parts. If you haven't done that yet, I'll be making a video here shortly on how you can do that. So I saved my parts in my desktop. So I'm going to go to Tetrix parts. You can go into views and select thumbnails. That'll give you all the different parts. If you want, you can preview, and that'll give you a little spot so that you can view the part ahead of time. So we're going to find the part we need. I'm going to select the wheel here. I can preview that so that I can do it to me ahead of time. But that's the part I want, so I'm going to open it. Now this is the first part, so there's not really anything to assemble it to or constrain it to. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here to where it says automatic, the drop down box, and hit default. And you're always going to do that for the very first thing you do, for your first part. And now it's orange. That's a good thing. When it turns orange, that means it's fully constrained. You can also see up here that it says fully constrained. Just one more thing. If you go to this box up here and deselect all, that'll get rid of all those annoying little brown lines. So that's there. Just hit the check mark and that'll be finished that. And then go to assemble. Now we want a bracket that we can hook an axle to. So that's down here. Okay, so now we want to constrain different parts to make sure this is lined up correctly. So what we want these lines, or these holes, to be lined up with the holes on the bracket, the mounting piece here. So we're going to select one hole, and select another hole that you want it to be lined up with on the wheel. Select that. You can drag this out like this. Now we want it to be straight though, because now you can pivot around that point, like that. So we want this hole here to be lined up with another point. So we're going to select that. And then go around so you can get it here. So now it's lined up straight. You can see that the holes are lined up. Now select the surface of the wheel that you want your mounting piece to attach to. So I select it here. And then turn it out a little bit to make it easier to get to. Select that surface. And that will make it coincident. If you want it to be flipped over, you can click this piece. That would make it inside. That's not what we want, but just a good thing to know that you can use this to flip a piece if it's not oriented the way you want it. So yeah, it's orange now. It's good. So we're gonna hit the check mark and zoom out a little bit here. So now we want a wheel. Now the thing about a wheel is in your model, you want your wheel to be able to rotate. So a good thing to do is make a pin function, or not function, a pin constraint so that it can rotate about the axle. Now in reality, on your actual model, on your actual robot, the wheel's not going to spin around the axle, but for the sake of Creo, that's how it has to be done, just because it's not the full interior part of the motor when they give you the model. So we're going to make the bracket spin about. One more thing is when I do the PTC Creo drawings, I don't typically add screws, just because it's a lot more work, and you don't really need them. If you want to add screws, typically we do that towards the end. But it's really good idea to just get the robot, basic, chassis, whatever you're building, done first. So yeah, now we're going to go into assemble here. We want to select our wheel, or our motor. So select the motor. Now sometimes it's a good idea to kind of orient it. You don't have to, because it'll orient itself as you do it. But okay, so now I want to stick this piece inside of there, and that'll orient. Now keep this, oops, wrong thing there. So you want to put that in there. You can either before you do that or after. Sometimes it's easier to do it before, so select one, but I'm just going to do it after, and then just re-click. What's it doing here? And then I'm just going to go in here, user defined. See, both parts are still aren't green. That's how you want it. And it's not giving me the function I want. Let me go back probably. Sometimes if you do too much, it'll kind of get confused. So okay, so this one's orange, green. Go in, you want to select pin. Now you might need to go select this part again. You can do that before. The order's not too important, although sometimes it'll get confused. Now that this is lined up, you want to line it up. It's lined up, and now you want it to be inside the motor. Now you can see here you've got these two aren't white yet, so it can slide forward and backward, and then it can spin like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to constrain it such that it can't slide forward and outward. It would still be able to do this when you're doing when you have a mounting bracket on there. If you don't want it to spin, you can do constraints so that it won't spin, but right now it's not attached to anything, so it's still going to spin. So we're going to select the tip of this axle here and this surface out here. Now, typically, at least for our team, we don't have them flush here. We have the axle sticking out a little bit. That grants a little more strength. So what we're going to do to constrain that is, instead of making that a coincident, is constrain that as distance. And that'll just give you this value number box here, and adjust that either positive or negative depending on how you have it oriented. And we found that 0.25 has been a good appropriate value to kind of give it balanced evenly. It doesn't stick out too much, but it still gives it a lot of strength. So that's orange and fully constrained. So we can hit the check mark. Now that is fully done. This should now rotate about. So a way that you can do that is you can hit Control Alt and then select a point. You can see now this is rotating the motor. Well, that's just showing that it's able to rotate now inside of the wheel. Once this is constrained, the wheel can move. But really, if it can roll inside of that, that's what we want. So that's all it for today. Please check out for more videos on PTC Creo and FTC. That's all for today, though. Thank you.